Hey family, this is Kenesha, and today our thought is, the thought of, is this a tragedy or transition? How many of us in our life, I mean, I know I can attest to this, maybe we have experienced death, divorce, destruction, or devastation. I mean, those are all words, words that we never want to encounter. But the reality is, in this life, for all of us, we're going to experience some tragedies. So really, what's important for us is to ensure that we're looking at negative situations with the right perspective. So I think about my good friend, Dr. John Maxwell, and he wrote a book called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And I think about one of my favorite chapters, and that chapter is The Law of the Rubber Band. And it talks about being stretched. Now, I know when I wake up in the morning and I have had a great night of rest and I stretch, that type of stretching I love, I appreciate, it's enjoyable. Even when I go to the gym and work out, stretching at the gym feels pretty good because it's my warm-up. But in life, when situations occur to us in our life that stretch us, and I would have to attest myself, I don't like to be stretched. Not when it comes to those words that I mentioned earlier. And in my life this year, I had that experience. On April 27th, 2019, I was in Killeen, Texas, at a restaurant, to be specific. I was 24 hours away from going to Louisiana. Now let me back up and say this. I live in California, and I was in Texas on a trip, and I was supposed to be with my family in Louisiana the very next day. And I looked down and I saw the phone, and I knew when I saw that number, I knew that my life had changed forever. And I knew that it was not for the good. And when I answered, on the other line was my sister with some very tragic information. You see, my father had just been diagnosed with cancer, maybe about a month and a half before. And it just hit us out of nowhere. So you think about the worst thing that a family could experience, I would say it's death. And my family had been praying and confessing and believing. But at the end of the day, on April 27th, just 24 hours shy of me seeing my dad, he passed. So in that moment, and it was difficult, I was in a restaurant with my two best friends, I had a decision to make. And let me say this, I'm a woman of faith, right? So this is just not because I'm strong, but as a woman of faith, I had a decision. And though I wanted to fall to pieces and cower down in the most tragic moment of my life, in my life, in my mom's life, I've got 3 siblings, I'm the eldest of 4, I made a decision. And I thought about a few weeks before my dad passed, I had led him to Christ for probably the second or third time. My dad was a cusser and a smoker, and he cut up. So I just wanted to make sure. So I led him to Christ. So I knew where my dad was. And in the most tragic moment, I dug down and I said, you know what? He's transitioned. He's in a better place. And I knew it. And with tears rolling down my eyes and with my heart broken into pieces, I knew that this was a transition for me, and I knew that it was a transition for my family. And though tragic, I made a decision in that moment to not focus on the tragedy of never hearing him call me my sweet doctor. That was his name for me. Or he would say, precious, you're my precious. Because I'm the best, I'm the eldest. I was his favorite. I'm just joking. He loved us all. But even in that moment, I decided to be stretched and pushed past my emotion to know that this was a transition for my father. So if you're in the middle of tragedy, dig down deep, find the positive, and let that tragic situation usher you into a transition of positivity. Signing off for today, Kenesha, love you, God bless.